I love you. I love you. I love you. I'm not so sure about. What's up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, dogs and cats? It's I, the OGGM, your number one host to the number one game show in all the tabletop role-playing game world. That is right. It is time once again to spin the wheel of irrelevant tabletop role-playing game content. And in honor of the upcoming holidays, Columbus Day. That's right, in honor of Columbus Day, it's bonus week. We've not one, not two, not three, but 3.5. 3.5. Four bonus week. 4 controversies that have spun up in the past 24 hours. So let's spin the wheel. All of them. Today's topics are Orcs Are Not Evil / Tolkien Was Wrong, You're Playing the Game Wrong, Combat Wheelchair, I Know More About Tolkien Than Tolkien, and you know have no experience in the hobby. And the bonus round is all of them, because all of those have become topics this week. Within the past 48 hours, we have seen arguments pop up yet again about orcs being evil / not evil, specifically orcs in Middle-earth. And despite the fact that there is categorical proof about what Tolkien felt about the orcs, people who claim they know more about Tolkien than Tolkien are coming forward saying, no, Tolkien was wrong. No, there's absolutely no mentions of that anywhere in the books. No, the orcs in the Lord of the Rings were not evil. Orcs in role-playing are not evil. They're misunderstood. They are just a blanket for the abject racism in the hobby for the past 50 years. Mind you, it has been categorically proven by people far smarter than myself that this statement is wrong, that the fictional orcs in the fictional world of fiction are not a blanket depiction of somebody's views of how they perceive people of color. Nope, that's been disproven. That's been disproven all over the world by multiple individuals hundreds of times. And now people are saying, well, I know more about J.R.R. Tolkien than J.R.R. Tolkien knew about Tolkien. And even though that's what he's wrote, that's not what he wrote. Okay. And it's like, well, no, it says right here on page 16. No, it doesn't. I know more about Tolkien than Tolkien. Okay. I know that what he was really saying was, so we've got that one. Then we've got the combat wheelchair has come up again. Combat wheelchair is up again. How if we say we don't want the combat wheelchair in our game, we're wrong, or that there's nothing wrong with the combat wheelchair, or blah, 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 or how it's just, oh, well, you just are you're a racist against people with disabilities by not allowing my character to have this. Well, why don't you just do this? Well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the combat wheelchair is up. You're playing the game wrong is a big one this week. And that goes tie and tie with our bonus question of you have no experience. Doesn't matter how long you've been playing the game, even if you've been playing the game for 40 some odd years like I have, you are not experienced in the hobby. Doesn't matter how many hours, doesn't matter what you've accomplished, doesn't matter what you've published, you are not experienced in the hobby. And that goes with the whole combat wheelchair one and the you're playing the game wheelchair wrong. And of course, the people who are claiming that they know more about Tolkien than Tolkien. I don't even know where to start. I know more about Tolkien than Tolkien. Is that the controversy we should talk about this week? Maybe it's we should talk about combat wheelchairs, or how about the orcs thing, or how about the fact that we don't have any experience? Doesn't matter who you are, Matt Colville, RPG Pundit, me, Matthew Mercer, Carrie Sullivan, Christine Morgan, these Aaron Sullivan, Steve Jackson, no experience. You have no experience, no sway. What you've done doesn't matter. Okay. You're playing game wrong. That's the way Gary wrote it. That's the way Gary played it. Gary didn't play that way. Play whatever way you want. Blah, 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 blah. Which one? Which I don't even know. Which one? There are so many. I don't even know which controversy we should talk about first. So bonus round, I guess we should talk about all of them. Now, there are so many different ways to deal with this utterly ridiculous problem. Now, you would think the most logical way is to present them with facts. And we could use the Tolkien as an example. All right. So people are saying XXX Tolkien, XXX Orcs. The response is that people are trying to be like, okay, I'm going to try and be reasonable. Here are quotes from the writing of J.R.R. Tolkien, specifically citing points where Tolkien makes it categorically clear that the orcs are evil. People are taking from the writings, from the Silmarillion, from the Tales of Numenor, from the Unfinished Tales, from the appendix, from the interviews, from Christopher Tolkien, from the word of people who actually spoke to J.R.R. Tolkien, like Christopher Lee, on the subject and saying, no, here is what Tolkien said. But then in response, people are saying, no, I know more about Tolkien than Tolkien. I definitely know more about Tolkien than Christopher Lee. I know more about Tolkien than the guy who did the movies or anybody who's like, got degrees in Tolkien literature and dedicated their entire lives to the research of Tolkien. Definitely I know more about Tolkien than Stephen Colbert or his own son. So despite the fact you were presenting me with categorical proof of the orcs of Middle Earth are this, I am going to disagree with you because I think they're just misunderstood. And I think it's just racism. And the orcs in D&D are a blanket representation of how you people perceive people of color. Now, how I people perceive people of color, but obviously for the past 50 years, you've been preventing people of color from playing tabletop role-playing, and you've been using this excuse that orcs are evil because Tolkien said so. But no, Tolkien never said so, and I think it's just racism. Well, I'm a black person, and I don't find the orcs racist. Well, no, you do. I know more about what you think black person than you do. Okay? I know more about Tolkien. So that's the orc one. How do we argue with that? How do we confront that one? Because logic and facts doesn't work. So obviously the only way is to go, you know what? You're right. You're right. They are not evil. From this point on, I am going to treat orcs the same way I treat everybody else in my game. And I expect you to treat orcs the same way you treat everybody else in the game. And the world will respond to the orcs the same way they respond to you. So from this point going forward, every time you kill one of my bad guys, since they're no longer bad guys, you're just murdering a guy who did his job. Why did you kill that guard? Well, he was evil. He was trying to stop me. Well, no, your argument is there is no more categorically evil or bad guys in the game. My orcs aren't evil. He was just a guy doing his 9-to-5 job, and you just murdered him. Okay, well, normally in the game, the villagers would reward you for killing the evil orcs. But because the orcs aren't evil anymore, they're just guys doing their job, just like you are, and you murdered them. Nobody asked you to do it. Because why would they? Why would the villagers ask you to stop the evil orcs if they're not evil anymore? They wouldn't. The villagers never asked you to stop those orcs from attacking their village. They're just like, hey, these guys are doing their job. Oh, look, they're cutting down the trees. It's obviously part of the kingdom's program to expand the roads like they do in Ventura every fucking week. Okay, so yeah, it's okay, guys. Go ahead. You murdered those workmen. You murdered them, and you took their stuff. You went into the tombs and you robbed dead bodies, vandalized the tombs, and then took stuff out of them. And then you killed the guy whose job it was to guard the tombs. Well, now I have you on murder. I have you on vandalism. I have you on desecration of corpses, and I have you on robbery. But no, I wasn't doing anything bad. Sounds to me like you're a criminal. And everything you did sounds evil. Why did you kill that orc? He's not evil. Well, he was doing his job. So by your logic, if somebody's doing their job and it goes against what you want to do, it's okay to kill them, but it's not okay for me to say they're bad guys. But it's not okay for them to kill you. But it's okay for you to kill them if you disagree with them. because they're not bad guys anymore. They're just people doing their jobs that you don't agree with. And so therefore, it's okay to murder them. Well, then you have to deal with the same consequences that anybody else would in the universe if they just went around murdering people and robbing people's houses of their shit. Seems legit, right? Problem solved. Here's your prize. Everybody's treated exactly the same in the game going forward. When you do something wrong, you will be treated as a criminal. Why did you rob that house? It was the house of the evil wizard. No such things as evil wizards. He was just a wizard doing his job, not hurting anybody. You killed him for no reason. Welcome to jail. All right, moving on. Combat wheelchairs. Combat wheelchairs. My character deserves a combat wheelchair because it gives them an unfair advantage over everybody else, and nobody else gets that because my character is disabled. Well, you can't have that because XYZ, XY healing, XY magic, blah, blah, blah. No. Fuck that. Okay, fine. The technology exists in this world to create combat wheelchairs. Your character can have a combat wheelchair. This combat wheelchair does all these things and is relatively, apparently, easy to build and relatively easy to get your hands on, and it doesn't seem to cost you that much. In fact, some of you get to just start it for free. Well, the thing is, once the technology is existed in a world, people tend to recreate that technology. And if that technology somehow in some way makes doing something easier, people will find a way to mass produce that technology, especially if that technology allows them to do something like their jobs better, or maneuver better, or transport product from point A to point B better, or military applications of said technology. So, ergo, if you can have a combat wheelchair, then the technology exists to create combat wheelchairs. Therefore, the technology to create combat wheelchairs has been industrialized. Now there are multiple combat wheelchairs available. There's plants creating combat wheelchairs, which means if you get to have a combat wheelchair, then all my bad guys get to have one too. And you're telling me that at some point in time, somebody wouldn't go, hey, how can I mass produce these things and use them to make my army better? Well, disability. Oh, okay, disability. You say you get your combat wheelchair because you're disabled. Well, what about after that? What about after that? Anything that's been made for somebody who was disabled in the real world has later on been mass produced for other reasons. So by your own logic, they would eventually start mass producing the wheelchairs, which means eventually people would get their hands on it, and you would have the equivalent of motorcycle gangs on combat wheelchairs. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but being dead is a disability. So I would think that all my zombies and skeletons and ghouls and vampires and waits, none of whom are evil anymore, would be able to get them also because they're disabled. What's your disability? Well, I'm dead. My legs are rotten off. So I think I deserve a combat wheelchair. Can't argue with that, and we mass produce them. Here you go. Yes, you can have a combat wheelchair in my game. Argument done. Okay. Argument number 3. I know Tolkien better than you do. I know Tolkien better than you do. I know Tolkien better than Tolkien does. Fine. Okay. I can't argue with you if you claim you know better than the guy who wrote the books and you know better than everybody who has ever done a research on the product. Fine. Go ahead. Write it up. Write it up and submit it to Cambridge. Go over there. Okay. You win. You're right. I'm wrong. Galadriel this, Orcs that, Fairmore this. Stephen Colbert doesn't know shit about J.R. Tolkien. J.R. Tolkien doesn't know shit about J.R. Tolkien. Christopher Lee, best friends with, doesn't know that shit about J.R. Tolkien. Right. None of those people. You know more about Tolkien than anybody else in the world. So I think what you should be doing is teaching people. So go to Cambridge. You're right. I'm wrong. Write a book. I'm going to do something else. You're playing the game wrong. How do we deal with that? Okay. So I'm playing your game wrong. Even though you just told me play the game whatever way you want. And even Gary didn't play the game the way I was supposed to. Well, I mean, I can't argue with your logic. I'm playing the game wrong. So I guess you should run. I don't want to run if I'm doing it wrong. Why don't you run? Fuck, write a game. Write your own game, okay? If I'm playing wrong, then you must be playing right. So therefore, you should be writing this. So please run the game. Please write a game. Please, submit your proposal to the game companies that they have been producing the games wrong and the rules are wrong and that you are right. The only person who's playing your game the right way is you, and everybody else is playing your game wrong. Well, fine. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with your logic. Here you go. Okay. Problem solved. You're right. I'm wrong. You've proven. Therefore, you should be DMing and you should write a game. And then you should go on a book tour, probably with the guy who says he knows more about J.R.R. Tolkien than J.R.R. Tolkien, and maybe go to Cambridge or go to the Gamma Judges or, whatever, or all the game companies. You should visit every game company in the world and present them with your documentation that proves you are the only person in the world who knows how to play the game and that everybody should be producing your game. And when that's done, you can come back because I'm going to be waiting for you to run a game since you're the only person who knows how to run the game. And since you're the only person who knows how to play the game the right way, then there's really no reason for me to even play the game, right? So you should probably just be playing with yourself. Nobody else should be playing. Yeah, that's what you should do. And finally, you have no experience. No, doesn't matter. Stephen Colbert, no experience. Matthew Colville, no experience. Only I have the experience in the hobby to tell you how to play the game. Okay, prove it. Show me your name on one piece of product. Show me the bank statement that shows how much money you've made. Show me what you've accomplished. Oh, okay. Well, sure. Then I guess if you're the only person experienced enough in the hobby to tell us that this is how we should be playing because you're the one who's had the more experience than anybody else, then, you should write that down. You should make the book. You should make the rules. You should go to all the other game companies. You should go to Matt Colville. You should go to Carrie Sullivan. You should go to Christine Morgan. You should go to Margaret Weiss and tell them that they do not have the experience, that they don't matter, that they don't have the sway, that you are the only one who has done this as long as you have. Therefore, they should be doing what you say. Right? We should all you should just be the only person who is running and playing the game because you're the only person who has the experience. So why don't you share that experience with us? Write it all down. You got access to the videos and make videos about it. Let us know what you experienced. Show us the experience. And then we could all, learn from you when you go on your tour with the guy who's saying that only he knows how to play the game and the guy who says that Tolkien, he knows more about Tolkien than Tolkien, right? Problem solved. I don't know why we've been arguing with these guys for so long because they're right. So there, in 20 minutes, I have resolved all 4 of the problems. Orcs aren't evil? Fine. Then no one is. You have to respond to the rules of the world just like everybody else. You rob a house, you go to jail. The orcs rob a house, the orcs go to jail. Combat wheelchair? Fine. You can have a combat wheelchair, but then so can everybody else because they're mass producing them. I know more about the game than you do? Fine. Prove it. I know more about Tolkien than you do? Fine. Then go prove it. I have more experience? Fine. Go on a concert tour, go on a book tour, prove it. Write a book. Go to this, go to all these people and provide them with the proof that you know more about the topic than they do. And then you should be the only person talking about it. And none of us should be, taking part in the hobby in any way, shape, or form because none of us are playing right. And none of us have the same level of experience you do. So, it should just be you as the only person in the room who is doing this because none of us know what you know and have experienced what you've experienced and are playing this way you think we should play. Right? Problem solved. So instead of worrying about gaming, we could just go outside. Right?